is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Monster with Attitude. I hope before we get going and introducing everybody, I hope everybody enjoyed our new intro. Oh God, I love it. It amps me up every time and everything. And one of our co-hosts, Elijah, who is brand new to our group and everything. He hasn't been able to come on this show yet, but he was actually on the Lowdown with me a couple weeks ago and stuff like that. So he's around, but he was nice enough to make that opening video for us. So thank you, Elijah. You did an awesome, masterful job. It's amazing.
It is. My jaw dropped the entire intro. I was like, wow. I love it. Good job, Elijah.
Kids got skills, man.
Yes, most definitely. And of course, before we get into it, let's introduce our panel today. To my left, who are you?
Well, some may say that I am Adrian Settle, but I'm Godzilla Train 1090. What's up, Kaiju family? Hope y'all all doing well today. I'm really excited to talk about Zone Fighter. Lord knows this doesn't get talked about enough. I'm glad that we decided on this show for this month. Let's get into it.
And obviously next to him is another person. Who are you?
Me, right. Okay, cool. Hey, folks. Samson West here, and I'm from Channel Samson West.
Got it. Okay, moving on. And of course, I don't know this guy. He's below me. Why don't you introduce yourself, I guess?
Well, can you not read the little name tag there? I mean,
it's your name.
Michael Hamilton of Kaiju Ramen, Kaiju Weekly, the Power Trip Podcast, and all other Toku and Kaiju related things. Monsters Attitude, of course. Moving a little slow tonight, guys.
Yeah. And joining us tonight, we have a special guest, Jordan, the realist Goji. Thank you for coming aboard here and talking about some Zone Fighter, buddy.
Of course, it is a pleasure being back with Monsters with Attitude. Absolutely love you guys. Absolutely love making content with you guys. And we're just going to keep it real. We're going to have a good time doing this.
Absolutely. And of course, we have to check with the chat. Oscar Solid.
Oscar!
Just checked out his top ranking of kaiju movies or monster movies. So that was really awesome. Let's see. Gamera Sith. What's going on? Thanks for joining. Mark Sang Yang, the legend himself, is here.
Not worthy. We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Godzilla fan freaks, what's going on?
Everett, what's going on?
Everett, what's going on, buddy?
Everett.
Yeah. So yeah, everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, and like we've kind of touched on briefly, we are talking about Zone Fighter. It's just a character. It's a series that does not get talked about nearly enough. I think it gets forgotten because of all the Sentai shows, all the Toho movies that they make, because it's all about Godzilla, and this is just kind of a diamond in the rough that's forgotten about, and it's been so long since it's been released and stuff like that. I mean, we're celebrating 50 years this year, so it's great to talk about this. I personally love this show. There's something about it that just has this. It's very kooky. It's even kookier than Ultraman and everything like that, and Power Rangers, Super Sentai, all that kind of stuff. But like, it's got some good stuff to it and everything too. And it's very violent. If you've never watched it, you might be a little surprised with it. If you've seen Ultra 7, very close to them with violence wise, but still a very fun show to watch. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to talk about it tonight, and obviously everybody else here is also. So let's get this kicked off, and drop some knowledge on everybody here. So, Zone Fighter, or aka Meteor Human Zone or Meteor Man, is known in Japan as Meteor Man. Over here in the States, we call him Zone Fighter. It was produced by Toho Company. The show aired on Nippon. Is that how you say it? Nippon television from April 2nd to September 24th, 1973, with a total of 26 episodes. The show was canceled midway through because the downturn in the Japanese economy caused by the energy crisis during the 1970s, as well as poor ratings. So unfortunately, as much as we love it now and everything, back then didn't get as much love. I think just because that kind of went to Ultraman. That was obviously the forerunner for this kind of series and stuff like that. So that kind of got all the attention and everything. But
yeah, this show, if I remember correctly, this show took place right as the economic downturn was starting to happen in Japan.
Yep. Definitely the biggest thing was the oil and everything like that. So yeah, just unfortunately they just couldn't do it.
The bubble didn't quite, if I'm remembering correctly, like kaiju historians and other people will probably know better than me, but I don't think the bubble actually burst until about the mid 90s. But this is Japan was financially in trouble at this point.
Yeah, and obviously they didn't have extra money to put on some of these shows and stuff like that. Other companies obviously flourished and everything with ratings, so that kind of helped them keep going and stuff like that. But unfortunately, this fell to the wayside. So,
whoever did the scheduling, did you know that tomorrow would be exactly 50 years that the last episode premiered? Is that why we scheduled for tonight?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly why we scheduled for tonight.
And technically, it's tomorrow in Japan, so it's the 24th.
True.
Yeah.
True. So yeah, it's a funny coincidence. So, but it's awesome though.
No, you did it on purpose. No, you did. Yeah.
Oh, good. I just want to say what's up to Malik Watson. What's going on?
Oh, my boy Malik. That's my brother right there.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah,
Thanks for watching.
Yep. So hopefully he said he's supposed to be coming this year, or not this year, but this coming G Fest. So fingers crossed that my boy actually makes it.
Nice. That'd be awesome.
Maybe we can get your boy to do the one chip challenge this time.
Nah, he's not.
Oh my god. Yes. It is hard to find subbed.
Very
unless
hard.
If somebody does it for you, that is literally the only way. Just because it's never released outside of Japan.
There was I'm sure we'll talk about it, but there was a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo campaign at some point where they did they did try to raise funds to have it subtitled.
I think I do remember hearing about that.
So none of the DVD copies, they're not even subtitled, because I know there was a 2016 and there was a 20.
There are ways. There are ways.
Anyway, so
We just don't talk about it, okay?
There are ways to get subtitle versions.
There
we'll
is.
talk about that.
You got me. I don't know anything. You know that.
I actually watched this season or this series without subtitles. So basically just going into it, not knowing what they're saying, just basically just watching the action and what's going on the screen to basically decipher what's going on, really. Recently I got a updated version that does have subtitles, so I was actually able to go through and actually know what they are actually saying, which is pretty nice. So, but
yeah,
enough of that. All right, so the plot of this show, if you have never seen this before, is this. It follows the Sakimori family or the Zone family. They just resemble a normal Japanese family, but they are an alien family that came to Earth after their home planet, Peaceland, was destroyed by the evil aliens called the Garogans. To stop the Garogan army's invasion on Earth, the Sakimori family's 3 children, Hikaru, the oldest son, Hotaru, the teenage sister, and Akira, the youngest son, transform into the superheroes Zone Fighter, Zone Angel, and Zone Junior. So just a little backstory. It's kind of the three are kind of the main, but then the oldest is like the main kind of thing. So yeah, so just kind of a little backstory for the plot of the show. So here's more in depth with the family themselves. So the actor who played Zone Fighter or Hikaru is Kayu. Help me out. Zuya Ayama.
Oyama.
Yeah. He also played, and coincidentally, Shimazu from Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 74. The brother, the one that you didn't see very often, everything, the one that got captured and everything by the black hole aliens and stuff like that. Like that was him.
Brother,
it's
can I
fun.
go? Is it okay?
yeah, it's okay with you.
No, you get kidnapped. It's fine. It's no big deal. You're not a very memorable character. Just get out of here.
And then the actress who played Hotaru or Zone Angel was Kazumi Kitahara. She also guest appeared in Masked Rider version 3 in 73 and Masked Rider Amazon in 74. So not a lot of history on her for acting wise. I don't think she stayed in the business very long. Maybe if someone did a super in depth, with her and everything, maybe you could find out more, but that's kind of all I kind of found on her. Same thing that goes with the younger actor, Zone Jr. or Akira. He was played by Kenji Sato. He played in several episodes of Toei's FX series Iron Robot 17 and 77. So that was really cool. Like I said, there's not a lot of info on him also. I don't think he had a very long acting career also. And then I also added the other members of the family. So you had the 3 kids, but you also had the dad, the mom, and the grandpa. And so I put them in there too. We don't really have to talk about them very much. They were an addition to the story and the characters. They helped out the kids and everything like that, but it was basically centralized around the kids, especially Hikaru, Zone Fighter. He was always the main one, with the siblings always coming out to kind of help him and stuff like that. So yeah.
Mom, dad, and grandpa didn't have any names other than mom, dad, and grandpa, right?
No.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah, they had names. Yeah.
Dad, mom, grandpa. That's it. Okay.
Yeah, and actually, the grandpa was referred to as Zone Great. I think
it's
because he was the grandpa.
It would have been awesome if he was like, oh, I was the original Zone Fighter and I passed it on down to my children and then my children passed it on to my grandchildren. That's like if it went down the line or something. Like he got too old to do it and the dad got too old to do it. So now Hikaru is the Zone Fighter. If they had kept the show going, we might have learned something like that. I don't know.
Exactly. All right. So coming to our first question. How do you feel about the Zone family? Are you satisfied with them as characters? Your thoughts? Adrian, you can go first.
I really like the Zone family. They seem like a typical Japanese family until the Terror Beast came, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, I actually did like the family. They seemed like they had a good dynamic. They was actually realistic. There was actually some tensions, especially in episode 4. Not mistaken. You've seen Zone Fighter, you know exactly what it is. If you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it. But
I think it was episode 4.
I
think it was episode. I'm pretty sure it was episode 4. Which, if I'm thinking of the right place, if I'm thinking of the same thing you're thinking of,
I think you are, Michael. Yeah, so I really did like the family dynamic. It was a really nice, tight knit family. For the most part, the kids were pretty respectful to the elders and everything. So they were nice. I really enjoyed them as characters, and one thing that always keeps me glued into stuff like Zone Fighter, things like this, is the human characters and the stories. Even without me having subtitles for half of watching this, I was still able to enjoy that dynamic, even with not understanding exactly what's going on.
Yeah. Samson?
Yeah, no, they were fun. They all interacted with each other as like a typical family, but then as like more episodes went along, they did have like a as Adrian said, they had a deep dynamic. They actually cared for each other and worried about each other, and they were it was fine for like they actually did feel like a little close knit family. We had some episodes here and there with some birthdays, and they actually had celebrations and enjoyment. They always laughed and cheered, and just everything was really hunky dory and friendly between them all. And it was a feel good kind of feel. So when you get that kind of sensation out of a TV show where you're actually like, oh, this is actually touching in a way, then yeah, it's fun. So it's good. It wasn't like, okay, this is fake and sloppy. I don't like this. It didn't feel like that.
Yeah, Michael.
I kind of like their family. I like their family dynamic. I think that we haven't gotten a lot of things. Zone Fighter is really unique in the sense that we haven't really gotten like this whole like this father son brother sister dynamic with, and they're all superheroes, which makes Zone Fighter super unique. Now you've gotten similar things with Super Sentai, like brother sister, brother, mom dad. You've gotten like separate little things like that with Super Sentai, but not an entire family unit dedicated to just being superheroes, which I think is really interesting. And their family dynamic was really good too. It created a lot of tension, specifically episode 4. And the only reason I remember it being episode 4 is because that is the debut. That was when Godzilla first appeared, which we'll talk about that. When Godzilla first appeared into the series. So there's a lot of good tension, a lot of good build up. But like Adrian said, they just seem like just a normal, just average Japanese family until they had to Henshin and get to work. But I enjoyed them a lot.
So Jordan.
Yeah, no, I'm jumping on the bandwagon of everybody loving them. I absolutely love them as well. And Michael and Sansom kind of like repeated what was already going through my head as everybody was giving the description of how they felt about it. It is true we don't really have, of my knowledge, a lot of family-based superhero characters like Zone Fighter. Granted, I have not watched every Super Sentai series out there, so I wouldn't really be able to nitpick which one. Other than Geki and Burai from Zoo Ranger. Overall, other than that, I do like the overall 3 main characters: Zone Fighter, Angel, and Junior. And one thing that Samson said that I do agree on was that, at least for the other, like the grandfather and the parents, I wish we got a little bit more in-depth lore to how they came about and why is it that we haven't seen them pretty much transform alongside with like their other kids. But overall, that's just one little downside of it for me. Overall, yeah, just a tiny bit. But overall, I absolutely love them. I have overall no complaints for them whatsoever as characters for the show.
I have to correct myself because I just thought of something. Like in Go-Go 5, so which Super Sentai Go-Go 5, there is a family dynamic like this. It's father, the dad is the leader, and then all of the siblings are the Rangers.
Oh,
Okay.
I have to correct myself on that. I just thought of that.
Okay. Yeah, like I mean, I agree with all of you. Like they had a great dynamic. It was your basically typical like Japanese family. Like you have the matriarchy, that kind of everybody goes to and everything, and you work your way down. They always look to the grandpa / dad, for what to do and everything like that, and they're always there to help them. And it was just great that they just let their. I mean, obviously you had the adults worrying about the kids, but they still knew that like. For some reason, they just felt and they brought it on themselves that like, hey, we have to protect this new world, our new home that we were here because this alien race is going to do what they did to our home world. Which brings up the question, why couldn't they do this kind of stuff on their home world? It's very interesting on how they couldn't do, turn into a giant hero, and everything like that and have these gadgets and weapons and all this kind of stuff. It's kind of pickling that like how did they actually get beat? Honestly, like if there had to have been more of these people, or could have been just one. There could have been just a whole race of this stuff. So I don't know. It's very interesting. Obviously, backstory we never got to go to, and dive into and stuff like that, which kind of sucks. But yeah, their whole dynamic was great. It was very different seeing a whole family as a cohesive unit, and basically they all are superheroes, not just like one particular main character that all the weight and all the burden is on just one. It's kind of on several of them and stuff like that, and they're always looking out for each other. And it was just nice to see, you know, they were just good people, and they were just trying to live their lives, you know, and escape this conquering alien race that just blew up their world and stuff like that. They're just trying to live on and just live peaceful lives. And it's just kind of crazy and cool that they took it upon themselves, like, hey, you know, this happened to our world. We're not going to let this happen to our new home and stuff. So it was really cool.
I have the answer to your question about why they couldn't protect their own home world, because they didn't have Godzilla in their home world.
Well, this is true.
That's true.
That's what happened.
That is true. You are correct, Samson.
Oh god. All right. And of course, we have the good, we must have the bad. So a little bit of description on the Gorgons is that they are a ruthless race of aliens native to planet Goroga, and they seek only galactic domination, conquering worlds one by one. The Gorogas are shown to operate as a hierarchy, kind of like what we just witnessed with the Zone family and stuff. Gold is the leader, which is on the left side of the screen with the kind of staff and everything like that. He's the leader. Red is the general. White is the scientist. Actually, you only saw them like a couple times throughout the whole series. And then silver is like the laborers or the privates, I guess you could say, the henchmen.
The grunts.
Yeah, the grunts and everything like that. They had to do everything and always got beat up and and whatnot. So, and then also too, thousands of years prior to their invasion of Earth, the Gorgons created King Ghidorah. They lost track of their creation, but found and briefly retook control of him to fight Zone Fighter. So I don't know if that's legit, but it is in the Toho realm and everything. So it
is within Toho lore. It is within Toho canon now. So
it is. So it is kind of cool that we kind of find out where King Ghidorah came from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but all right. So our next question: what is your impression of the Gorgons? Jordan, you go first.
I did like that they added this into the show. Obviously a huge homage to that of Super Sentai, where you know it's good versus evil. And especially, I mean, at least of my knowledge with Toho and their television series, I personally haven't seen anything like that where they did, you know, recreate that of a type of good versus evil vibe. I personally don't have any negativity thought or negative thoughts towards them. The same thing I said about the Zone family, I'll say about the Goragon alien race. Overall, I thought the leader was pretty badass alongside with the soldiers. I did like the overall goriness to certain fight sequences. They were really absurd, and that was another reason as to why I loved it so much, because at least for me, with the few Sentai shows that I have watched, they were nowhere near as gory as, you know, the Gorrigan versus the Zone fighting family. So I'll give them an extra point for that. But overall, those are just my overall thoughts to the evil alien race in Zone Fighter.
Nice. Michael.
I mean, they're pretty average. If you've seen anything like Zone Fighter, so specifically the closest thing to associate it with is probably like Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, etc. Like, you know how this kind of dynamic works. So I will just point out the fact that I think they're designed really well. I think it's a unique. I feel like it's a unique design to them. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Eric, isn't it? Aren't there a few Sofubi made of the Gorgons? I think I've seen them before. I think so.
Maybe.
Or maybe I'm thinking of another Henshin show. I thought David Dobko had one that he showed off during a show once. But regardless, like I like the designs of these. aliens. I like how there's a hierarchy. I wish though that the actual leader, the gold one, there was a little bit more to him other than just, oh, I'm gold and I have a cape. It's
Gotcha.
like I wish there was a little bit more to him than that. But outside of that, I think they're ruthless, they're evil, they play that role very well. Like if you've seen shows like this in the for Super Sentai and Kamen Rider and other Henshin shows, like the dynamic. They are here to conquer Earth, and destroy the Zone Fighters, all that stuff, and they're just a lot of fun. Like it's just I like traditionally evil villains. I also like villains that have a little bit more depth to them, and these guys don't really have a whole lot of depth to them. They're just really evil.
Samson.
You pretty much took the words out of my mouth. Ruthless was the word that I was going to narrow it down to when it came to these guys, because they're pure evil, man. They would do anything and everything they could to get their needs met in the most evil way that they could. Hypnotizing children, kidnapping people, torture, murder. I mean, these guys, it was bad. And it was like, it was a lot. It was a lot. When I saw the show, I was like, God, man, the level of violence that comes from these guys is a little, is this a kid's show or what? I mean, kids want sitting down watching this thing. These guys are out kidnapping and torturing children. And as far as the designs go, yeah, they are evil looking. I will say their cockroach antennas are a bit much. It's kind of wacky, and it's funny they can take them off and use them as whips. But it's like I question that too. Like whenever the Zone family shot them off, did that hurt, or was it like, oh no, you just already? Anyways, so it's like. It was a lot of fun. Their design, they do look evil. They're nasty looking MOs, and I mean, or MFs, words. I like them though, because they're simple. It's we can just narrow it down with they're evil. They have evil intentions. I know, but I try to live a little bit.
You can curse on this show within reason. You can curse on this show, Samson. I promise.
Yeah,
it's okay. You're not gonna get in trouble.
All right, fuck yeah, thanks. But yeah, they're evil and they're neat, but it's simple. It's simple evil. It's not too complex. It's simple. It's understandable, and you're just like, okay, I hate these guys. It's easy to hate them because they're pure evil.
Right.
Absolutely. Adrian.
I mean, Samson pretty much took everything I was going to say, to be honest, which is unusual. So get you, Samson. But but no, like Samson said, like they are just ruthless, and I love how much variety they have to try and get what they want. They were simple villains, but like you said, Samson, they did everything they could to be able to try and beat the Zone family. They did not care. They was running around murdering folks, getting guillotines, getting people on saws and stuff. They did not care. They wanted their way, and they was going to get it one way or another. And honestly, yeah, probably quite a few people that died if it wasn't for the Zone. Especially, oh my God, I'm blanking on the other character's name who's there every now and then. The family, I guess.
The man that's their friend.
Yeah, he should have died a few times.
I forget what his name is actually now. Yeah, the young man that he loved telescopes and stuff. What was his name?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Was it Tokaru? I'm blanking on that.
It's not Tokaru.
I know it's Mr. Joe. I know that, but I can't remember his first name.
Joe. Every once, I'll look it up. Here, I'll find it.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, all you guys said, it's great. That's exactly how they are. Honestly, they are probably the top most ruthless, evil organization / villain we've seen in these kind of shows, because you don't see villains just going out just killing people and shooting them and everything like that, and or choking them to death and leaving them on the side of the road, or just all this crazy stuff that you would not see nowadays. And everything, and I loved that they somehow could not shapeshift, but pretend that they're humans.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had a human skin on them, and they could transformation, into the Gorgon look, and then people look. But the only way that you can know that they're actually evil is the webbed hands and everything, and they'd always just shoot right to that hand, like, oh, they're the bad one, though. And I love that. I was like, oh, they're bad. They're bad because they have the web hand and everything, and that's how the Zone family could figure them out and everything. It was just great. Like I love that aspect of it. So they could be in camouflage and everything. So it made them even more ruthless because no one thought anything about it. They just thought it was some people, and actually it was an evil alien race. Actually going around killing people and all this stuff. And yeah, they had wacky gadgets, and then their antennas were whips and everything, and they could grab people. Like that was funny. And like honestly, I swear they were like indestructible because like the Zone family, they would shoot them up and they would get hurt, but they'd still run away. Like you can never kill them. Like why are these guys running away from the Zone family when they're never dying? Like like it was kind of funny that way.
They literally had guns. The family had guns, and they were shooting at these guys throughout the whole series, but they wouldn't die.
Yeah, wouldn't die. Just
straight up guns, not laser guns, like just guns.
And I will say though, and I think based on information and stuff like that, that I believe Super Sentai took inspiration from this show to Super Sentai, because Super Sentai, the first one, was made in 75. This was made in 73. So actually, all of this kind of going on with like the hierarchy and the henchmen and everything like that, and against a group of superheroes and stuff like that, like that is the MO for Super Sentai and Power Rangers. Like that's what they do all the time. This show was before then, so it's like this actually came up with all of that kind of ideas for Super Sentai and Power Rangers. So it kind of speaks volumes that what they started is still going till this day. So it's pretty great, actually.
I was going to ask the other way around. I was like, did this feed off of Super Sentai and like Power Rangers hit America in the 90s? But this, because I was like the whole time watching this, like, man, this is very Super Sentai Power Rangers-esque. It felt like it the whole time. The human like fighting interactions and like just the family with suits, and like they can just transform and put on suits and then fight the bad guys, and the camouflaging from human to alien just constantly. Yeah.
Well, wow. I think there was a lot of influence to go around, because this show took influence from Ultraman. Obviously, there's some obvious similarities between that and Ultraman, but this is not the only Henshin show around at that time too, because Kamen Rider started.
Kamen Rider, was even before.
I had to look it up to see what year Kamen Rider started, but it was 1970. So this is 1973. So between Kamen Rider and Ultraman, like we get Zone Fighter, and the Goragon, the Garagon are they remind me a lot of Shocker, which is the main villain organization from the first season of Kamen Rider.
Okay.
So they remind me a little bit of that, but Shocker is more into like espionage and political power, whereas these guys, they just want to conquer Earth by any means necessary.
Yeah.
Oh, and Japanese, and I forgot Japanese Spider-Man, as Aaron.
Oh
said.
yes.
Adrian and everyone else. It's Takaru Joe. That's who it's Takaru Joe. So it was him. I thought it was kind of right.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like a lot of the stuff stemmed from Ultraman and everything, and just kind of went up from there. And that's literally why Toho made this, because they were feeding off of that popularity of the Henshin heroes and stuff like that in the 70s and everything. And they went to this, and they try to make it differently. Obviously, try to put like more of a family compared to like Ultraman and Kamen Rider, where you had just one hero that was always the main person, everything. This, they kind of tried to make it a little bit different, obviously, but obviously have similarities to those shows and stuff like that. And yeah, and it just kept branching off as time went on and everything. So it's really great and really fun to see. So, but moving All right. So this was kind of talked about from Samson's point of view, actually. Do we think the show was too violent for a younger audience?
That shot right there, that happened. I was like, I was, yeah. Didn't mean to go first, but
Samson, you can go first since you touched on it first.
He was brutal. Zone Fighter, I mean, every once in a while he would just like kind of beat on the bad guys, but then when he wanted to, he would just make up a new ability and chop something off or shoot the living hell out of it through its stomach at point blank range and just it's like, I mean, it was a bit much. And again, like touching on the medieval torture devices that the Garugas tried to use on again, children and anybody else, and just straight up murdering people in the street, like you said, choking them out, leaving them just on a drawbridge for everybody to find later. I would say it's a little bit more than PG.
Oscar, yeah, man, it's something.
Well, like you referenced with Ultra 7, it did kind of have that feel in terms of like him being able to dismember the terror beast and whatnot, which it was very reminiscent of that. It was, had that same feel.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. And that's that goes back to what Michael was kind of saying, is that it just kind of branches off and it starts from one and just kind of keeps going and takes a little here and there. So yeah. Adrian.
I mean,
are you really gonna debate this?
I mean, to be fair, because I was finishing binging it while Serena and her daughter were here, and she loved it, honestly. So, and she saw this exact episode, and she just laughs. He's dead. I was like, oh Jesus,
he's more than dead.
Oh God.
So was it a little bit violent for that younger audience? Maybe, but the kids these days are different. They can handle it. They'll be all right.
They'd be all right.
Again?
Oh God. Jordan.
I really don't know if this show was a little too violent for the younger audience. I think because at least for us, the audience here in the States have been, whenever we do have products overseas coming over, to the States, we do tend to see a lot of scenes being edited out or, just completely cut off, or even like with anime in the sense, like, people, for those who watch One Piece, always ask, what the hell were they doing with the 4Kids dub of One Piece, where instead of one of the main protagonists is Sanji smoking a cigarette, in the 4Kids, version here in the States, he was sucking on a lollipop, and just like little stuff like that. Even where one of the freaking pirates, they pull out a gun and shoot one of the mothers from, again, another main protagonist in the show. They replace it with like, I don't know, like a laser blast or something, or I think it was a banana or something like that. How the hell is a banana going to kill somebody? I have no idea. Maybe she had an allergic reaction. I don't know. But in terms of
overdose, dude, it happened.
Yeah, man. So I don't know if it was a little too violent because, looking back at certain products, especially with that of Ultra 7, I feel like for the kids, even in Japan now, back then, have the stomach to pretty much, I don't know, take it all in and just be able to still eat a bowl of rice while eating this, I don't know, but I mean, overall, this would definitely be something that, and Adrian, he hit the nail right in the coffin. If you were to introduce this to like that of the modern generation of today's society, they'll take this like a slice of cake, so I'm definitely going to try to put my cousin onto this because holy, he be showing me some stuff that I'm just like, it makes my stomach like all like gurgly and stuff. So, but overall, is it too violent for the younger audience at that time? I'm not too sure, maybe, but I could only imagine other things that came out that were a lot worse for this to be shown to kids. I don't know. I'm like 50-50 with it.
Michael.
I wish Aaron were here because I know he would help me out. But it really comes down to cultural differences,
Mhm.
right? So I've watched a lot of Japanese media, specifically a lot of Sentai has a lot more violence than this. So for example, in O Ranger, what would later become Power Rangers Zeo, O Ranger, there is a scene with a dad holding a gun to both himself and his child. So like that is like, but Super Sentai is seen as a kid's show in Japan. So it does come down to cultural differences. And I think that certain things have different connotations in Japan than they do. They're seeing things. They see things a lot differently in Japan than they do in America. Like a lot of things, not to go down too deep of a rabbit trail, but I'm only going to do this as an example. They would use things like satanic worship or sexual innuendo with children as a plot device or just to get a laugh out of somebody. Whereas over here, that would not fly because of censorship and some of the cultural baggage that comes with that. So that is why Japanese television, especially the early Japanese TV, which would be considered more for kids, quote unquote, seemed a little bit more on the mature side because of just that cultural difference. And to answer the question, do I think it's too violent? No, because I've seen way worse than this. I feel like there are Ultraman shows that are way more violent than this. People keep bringing up Ultra 7. Ultra 7 is a really violent show for what it is. I've seen way more violent Super Sentais. I've seen not as violent Super Sentais, but still Super Sentai that tackles a lot headier topics, like that would be considered taboo here in America. So the whole bloody decapitated head thing, that doesn't faze me. I think it really just comes down to cultural difference. And is it too violent for kids here? Not really, because I think now people can distinguish it's just a guy in a rubber suit and it's fake blood. So it would be considered cheesy over here. I don't know. It's a hard question to answer, really. But like I said, it just comes down to cultural difference.
Okay, y'all destroyed my answer. Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, and I was going to touch base on that. I was like, it's just because we're just two completely different societies. Like the Japanese audience, television, movies, they can touch base and do things that we can't over here, and they're not afraid to do it either. Because they're not as insensitive as we are.
Well, if you look at Die Ranger, which became season 3 of Power Rangers, there is a scene where Ko, the White Ranger, if anyone remembers Tommy the White Ranger, but in Die Ranger, he's a child. He's a 12-year-old little boy. And if anyone knows anything about, we all used to be 12-year-old little boys at some point in our life. So we all know how 12-year-old little boys think and how 12-year-old little boys act. So there is a scene where Ko grabs one of the female Rangers' breasts and it's played off as a laugh. Over here, that would not fly. Like that is seen as sexual. That is clear sexual harassment. But over there, it was played off as it was played for laughs and for not. I wouldn't even say shock value because I don't think it was necessarily shocking to them. But the Japanese are not afraid to do things and to cross certain lines as either a plot device or to get a laugh out of somebody or just inappropriate comedy. I think the Japanese are really also known for just what we would consider inappropriate comedy or what have you. So,
yeah, what Aaron's got down here, all right, y'all have actually convinced me because it is a whole cultural thing. You're very correct now that I think about it from that aspect. But Aaron, he kind of nailed it on the head right there.
Yeah, especially with Dragon Ball. Jesus.
Well, I mean, like that's a good example, but that goes based on everything. Like even Michael was saying with Power Rangers and stuff like that, they censored a lot of stuff here. Even Jordan touched on with One Piece. Like they just, like you said, it can go both ways, but at the same time, like here, it's even split here because our society is very soft,
Yes.
and
that part.
so a lot of this stuff is not acceptable, even if we think it is, or some parents do, some parents don't.
Mhm.
And it's you have that divide too and everything. So yeah, it is a very fine line. Over here it is, but over there, no. Like, that's the thing. But I think the biggest thing, I think what was different with this is that because it has kids in it all the time, like they're the ones that are getting kidnapped or getting shot or whatever, tortured. Like, they are in the fire, so to speak, and everything. And it's just like, we're just not used to that. But like, they're, and Ultramans and stuff like that, where they were super violent, but those are adults. Those are adults getting shot at or beat up or killed or whatever. Like, you're throwing in, vulnerable kids now. It just becomes a different thing. That's why I say, like, the Japanese are not afraid to like cross those boundaries and do different things, because they think it's entertaining. Like,
I mean, Zyuranger had child murder.
So
Like,
really?
Yeah. Zyuranger had child murder. Yeah.
Literally, there's like a Michael, you could correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's like 2 or 3 part episodes where the Rangers are actually fighting I believe it's just Satan. I'm just gonna keep it like that. They literally fight Satan, and
Die Satan. Great Satan. Great Satan. Yeah.
And Bandora pretty much there's a symbol needed to summon that specific character. And the host of that symbol are a bunch of kids basically fused into this symbol to basically summon Satan.
Yeah. So they have to kill the children. Yeah. Like,
yes.
And then in Die Ranger, one of the Gorma tribe is a child, and he's one of the main antagonists, and he is thrown off a cliff and crushed by the rocks and then sent down to hell. So, it's some crazy shit, guys. Like, it's some crazy shit. Yeah.
Actually, that reminds me of the edit from Megalon, from the VHS tape I grew up with to the now Blu-rays we have. There's the scene where the curly-haired guy gets crushed by the rock. That wasn't in the VHS tape of that. They edited that out. Same with Katsura being on the operating table with her tooth exposed. That was taken out for most American DVD releases of that. So it is a cultural thing. All right, you guys have given me something to think about. It was kind of the shock factor. Like this in particular, I was like, for a second, because it was a bit much. I was like, wow.
And honestly, it would be shocking. It would be shocking to an audience that is not expecting it. So, for example, too, I think it's Ultraman Return. I think it's Return of Ultraman.
Return of Ultraman.
Is it Return of Ultraman where they're being crucified? I can't remember.
I think that was Ace.
That was Ace. Yeah.
Okay. So if it was Ace, so for us in the West, crucifixion has a completely different meaning. That is a completely different meaning, right? Yeah, but also you think about this too. But Subaraya was also a practicing Catholic, so like there is a little bit of that crossover. Yeah. But to see that in a show specifically for kids, like that's some heavy stuff.
Exactly. I was just gonna Samson, have you seen like Ultra 7 and all that stuff, like the earlier Ultra shows?
I've seen bits and pieces. I have not seen them all in their entirety yet. So I've seen most of Ultraman, and I've seen a few episodes of Ultra 7, but I have enough knowledge to get by, not enough to actually be able to be on par with you guys.
Well, but that brings me to my point. Like, when I first watched Ultra 7, I had that shock factor because this show is very similar to that. So you watching this for the first time and watching all the way through, you have what I had for watching Ultra 7, where I was like, holy cow, like there's decapitation and disarmament and ripping apart and ripping things, like all this stuff. Like it's very violent for Ultra 7 compared to the original Ultraman. So I totally get what you're saying though.
Yeah, sure. Like even the human factors, like the human violence and the subject matter, it's like it's a little like, wow, damn. I mean, they'll do anything they want to get what they need. If there are kids involved, fuck them.
Yeah, and that's what's different with this. they do all that violent stuff to actual people too, and I think it just brings it to another level. So
Yeah.
But
It's all in good fun. Good torture. It's the good
yeah,
torture.
exactly.
It's the fun
All
kind.
right, moving on. All right. So, with Zone Fighter being officially connected with the Godzilla franchise, do you believe it was a good idea, or should they have kept it separate? And I will have Michael go first.
With Zone Fighter being officially connected to Godzilla franchise, do you believe it was a good idea to? So, do you think that? Are you asking, just for clarification? Are you asking me? Do you think it's a good idea that Godzilla crossed over with Zone Fighter?
Yes, basically yes.
I think so. I think you can because Godzilla crosses over in so many different genres and things anyway. I think it's like with a brand new property like Zone Fighter, and really Godzilla showed up way early in this series.
Yeah.
Way earlier than what I remembered. I thought it was like maybe a little bit towards the halfway point, but no, he shows up in episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
So to help get Zone Fighter off the ground, of course you're going to bring in like one of your biggest, if not your biggest property at the time, which would be Godzilla. And at the time of this show, we get, I can't remember which came first, Megalon or Zone Fighter. I want to say Megalon came first. Or maybe,
Yes.
It had, yeah.
I think, yeah.
So, and Megalon was a really popular movie, right? So it was a really so to have Godzilla cross over with another Henshin Hero in Zone Fighter, where essentially you saw that same thing in Megalon with Jet Jaguar, made a lot of sense, and it brought a lot of that quote star power into Zone Fighter. It's no different than oh crap, my mind is blanking right now. Like any other like upstart property bringing in another big name to cross over with them or whatever, it's no different than that. I personally don't have a problem with them being combined, because at the end of the day, they're both Toho properties. It's not a big deal for Godzilla to cross over into Zone Fighter, because Zone Fighter is owned by Toho. Yeah. And so why not capitalize on the popularity of Godzilla and bring in that character to add a little extra star power, quote unquote, to this show that they're trying to get off the ground.
Jordan?
I'm gonna have to agree with Michael with that one. I do think it was an amazing idea to definitely put Godzilla into this show, just because, I mean, for especially during that time, yeah, sure, you could include, if you were a viewer at that time watching the original Ultraman, you could obviously say, oh, well, we already seen, Godzilla with Ultraman, and obviously, the Godzilla, or not Godzilla, Ultraman versus Jiris fight. And especially with how that fight kind of ended off and stuff like that, a huge, obvious, inspiration to that of being that we're getting to see Godzilla, going up against Ultraman, or just sharing the same screen with Ultraman. This was the best way to actually have Godzilla, come in the world of somewhat of a Ultraman-esque, type of vibe, and especially being that it's the Meguro Goji being the superhero variant of Godzilla. I did absolutely love it. And obviously, I mean, just in my overall opinion, it's what gave Zone Fighter its just overall popularity within, the fandom here in the kaiju community. I personally don't believe that if Godzilla were to not be in this show, or there was no ties to any of the other Toho kaiju to this show whatsoever, I don't think it would be as talked about as much as what it would be now, especially being that, again, I do think Godzilla really did give, for us as fans, the huge acknowledgement of what Zone Fighter is, and what just makes it, I mean, an enjoyable watch for us kaiju fans.
Right.
Exactly. Like it's a love-hate for me, because I love that they brought Godzilla in and everything, and I understand it's Toho, it's their property. Why not throw them together? Great, and if you want to get, this series off the ground, you're going to throw the biggest Japanese star out there in this show to help it get boosted and stuff like that. And then people know, hey, Godzilla is on this show. Who knows when he's going to show up? So they're going to keep watching and keep watching and keep watching, hopefully to keep the viewers up and stuff like that, which obviously it didn't happen. But at the same time, it sucks, because we got a final ending for two other Toho I guess, kaiju and stuff like that weren't even in like the actual Godzilla movie. It was separate, I guess you could say, on its own kind of timeline, and everything. So it's a love-hate, I guess, with it. I don't get me wrong, I love Zone Fighter and everything. But do I feel like Zone Fighter could come over to the actual Godzilla franchise and like fight like his normal foes? Absolutely not. I really don't. I really don't. I don't think he could hang with them realistically, even though he does do a good job with the two that are in here, but also with help. You know, that he had a lot of help with this stuff and everything. He was assisted a lot in those couple episodes and stuff like that. So it's great. I love seeing them both together and everything. I mean, we would have never thought of having Godzilla in a Henshin Hero series. I mean, realistically, I mean, it's kind of a dream thing, you know, like Jordan, you said, like we kind of got that hint with Ultraman 66, you know, with Gyrus and everything like that, being the old Godzilla suit. And that, for the most part, what we thought, that's all we were going to ever get, you know, kind of thing. So it's not officially against Ultraman, but it's the next best thing, honestly. So.
Even you said a good point with obviously, you know, Godzilla, you know, being the ultimate aid for Zone Fighter in this specific episode of the images that you're providing the viewers right now. I mean, Godzilla was going to work on those monsters. Even in the other appearances, he would mollywop them, and I'm like, oh my god. So then, you know, you bring it, you know, and like for me, like I talk about it here and there to certain people. If Zone Fighter would fit in, you know, the cinematic world of Godzilla, you know, bringing that up, now I can confidently say absolutely not. Zone Fighter's fine where he's at.
He's overpowered as shit. I mean, he defeated a couple of Godzilla's actual foes.
Oh yes.
So I mean, if he just came in like, all right, missile might time, dude, done. Let's go home. That's all he would have to do in any movie. He'd just come in and be like, Godzilla, did it really take you that long to beat him? I have these things. Done. Explore a little bit. I guess I'll answer. Yeah, I think that it adds some charm to it, and feeding off what you guys said, that if it weren't for him being in the show, that was like a way for people to get drawn in, like, ooh, Godzilla's in this. Oh man, I can't wait to see more episodes where Godzilla's in this, so I can have fun. So that's probably what I mean. They had to do that, and it was great that they didn't change the intellectual property or anything about Godzilla. They didn't make him like somehow different. He just was Godzilla. He was Godzilla. Yes. It was him in Tokyo. He was still, there was nothing different about him other than he's in this show. And he can be called on whenever the family feels ultra threatened or zone threatened. Not ultra, that's a different series. And yeah, no, Jordan made it. He did go off. He was boxing. He was beating. He was thrashing around. It was fun. He was relentless in this, a lot like he was in Megalon. And that's kind of what this suit is all about. Everybody knows that the Meguro Goji is kind of goofy and fun, and that's what I like about it too. It gave me some feel good feelings inside, like some kind of childlike. Whenever I saw Godzilla come on screen, I was like, kind of like that, just like when I was a kid seeing it. It made me all like cheerful inside, like a little dumbass kid. I had a great time watching this, especially the Godzilla episodes, because it was just so exciting to see him pop up on screen.
Adrian?
Yeah, and honestly, and I agree with all y'all. It was great that Godzilla was in here. Even though I've already seen some of Zone Fighter, but this is my first time watching it all the way through. Whenever I would see Godzilla, I instantly just like Samson said, I felt like a little fucking kid again, getting excited because Godzilla's on the screen. And of course, y'all know Godzilla vs. Megalon was my first Godzilla movie. Y'all know how that suit has that special place in my heart. So seeing that every now and then Godzilla comes in, whipping up on the terror beast, is just like, oh, that's awesome. This is awesome. And I hate that it didn't give Zone Fighter the oomph it really needed to keep going. But the episodes we did give from in there were great, and some of my favorite episodes, honestly, because we wasn't expecting Godzilla to come. When he did come, he wrecked shop.
I would be very interested to like know the ratings for each episode and see what the ratings were for every time Godzilla showed up. Just to be curious and see if actually they spiked or not, or if they just kind of stayed the same at all. Like I'd be super curious about that.
Oh, something else I meant to reference was not knowing about Zone Fighter existing until I was like in my mid-20s. It was amazing to learn the fact that, because I would see clips of this and I was like, whoa, what Godzilla movie? Hold on. No, I know every Godzilla movie. How have I not seen whatever this is? And then when I found this, I was like, what the hell? There's this whole other world and it's just Godzilla. It's not like he's different. It's still just, oh man, this is great. It's like seeing a new Showa movie all over again.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
I the same way with me. Like I actually learned first about it at G Fest when I was younger. Some people were I was literally sitting in line for the dealer room and someone had their laptop out and they're like, oh yeah, let's watch these episodes. And I just happened to, kind of lean over, kind of look to see what they were watching and stuff. And I saw Godzilla fighting these weird monsters. I was like, what the hell is that? I was like, I've never seen that before. And I've seen every single Godzilla movie there is. And I kept watching. And then they had noticed. And then I was like, hey, what are you watching? They're like, oh, this is Zone Fighter. And it's another series that Godzilla came. And I was like, wait, what? And then I found out that he was in it like 5 times. I was like, holy crap. I was like, this is awesome. And then later on, finding out that Gigan and King Ghidorah were in it, I was like, wow. I was like, this blew my mind, honestly.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened to me too. My friend Tiffany, her dad actually gave me Zone Fighter on DVD, and he even was like, hey, Godzilla's in this, check this out. I was like, ooh, what? What do you mean Godzilla's in this? What is going on? I didn't know nothing about this. I've seen every Godzilla movie 100 times. I did not know nothing about Godzilla being a TV series. So I'm very grateful that her dad gave me the Zone Fighter DVDs because, yeah, it was great being able to watch all those. It was awesome.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So is it like a unanimous yes from us? Like we're all okay with it? Is that
Yes.
kind of general understanding?
For most part, yeah.
Yes.
I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
So kind of touching briefly on these two, actually, with the guest appearance of some of Toho's kaiju royalty, who else would you have liked to see show up in the series? Adrian, you can go.
See, Oscar took my answer. Jet Jaguar. It would have been awesome to see Jet Jaguar and Zone Fighter fighting together. Can y'all imagine that? Yeah, Zone Fighter is way more OP than Jet Jaguar is, but Jet Jaguar could have handled his own on against some of these terror beasts. It would have been just fine. It would have been awesome seeing those two tag team to fight somebody. Then having the Zone family interact with the family from Godzilla vs. Megalon, that would have been cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun to see that the two little dynamic families just butt heads. That's really good. I didn't think about that.
All right, Samson, what do you think?
Well, considering where we're at, well, we can't talk about the later kaiju yet because it was 73. I guess Megalon would be a good contender since it was that year. That suit was still fresh. It still could have been utilized, just like because that's the 73 Gigan and the 72 Ghidorah suit. I don't know what other suits could have been around by then. Which ones would have been completely rotted out? Are we speaking in terms of like legitimacy, like what suits could have been used, or just like spur of the moment? Like
just in general.
What would be? I don't know. Megalon
Within reason.
Yeah, Megalon's a unique creature, just like all the terror beasts in this. I feel like that could actually flow pretty well because he's kind of wacky. That's what all the creatures are that Zone Fighter fought. They're all ridiculous looking creatures. An average monster like Gorosaurus or Rodan, which is just a giant T-Rex, a giant pterodon, or anything. It needs to be a weird looking kaiju. So Megalon would fit in that category pretty damn well.
I got another one, but I'm gonna let everybody else answer first, though. I have another one too after that.
All right, Michael.
I'm gonna go. If we're just talking, just strictly, whatever. I personally think I would have liked to have seen Sanda and Gyra in Zone Fighter.
Ooh.
Sanda and Gyra. Now I think we saw Gyra. The Gyra suit was used for Red Man, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But by that time, the suit itself was trash. So, Sanda and Gyra, I think, would be interesting. Jet Jaguar, of course, that makes the most sense. Megalon makes even better sense because both the jet suit and the Megalon suit were still fresh at the time, so they probably didn't get that beaten up from film from versus Megalon, so they could have still been in pretty good shape. We know that with poor Baragon was repurposed for Ultraman a lot, so there was no way that could have showed up. But yeah, I'm gonna go Sanda and Gyra just because I think that's a good choice.
just because.
Jordan, that would have been awesome.
Oh man, does it have to be a kaiju that came out before Megalon, or just any, or from the show era?
That's I mean, I don't know. That's kind of where I was thinking legitimately, like
let's stay like before it was made. You know, the earlier 70s and 60s and 50s and all that stuff.
That's a tough one. Because originally what I was gonna say, I was gonna be a little bit biased. I would have loved to see my boy King Caesar going at it, helping out Zone Fighter. Mm-hmm. But if we're talking about, movies that happened before Megalon, to fit within the category of the just how absurd looking the monsters were, being connected to the Godzilla universe, I would have to say Hedorah. And then getting a little bit of the lore of Hedorah being that it was from outer space, it was just some giant type of virus. I would like to see a little bout between Zone Fighter and Hedorah midway through space, just flying back and forth, duking it out, whether if it's on a whole other planet or even Hedorah's home planet, getting a little bit more in-depth lore to Hedorah. But I would stick with, again, everything that happened before Godzilla versus Megalon. I would say Hedorah, but me personally, if we're just talking about overall any type of Showa Godzilla monster, I would definitely say King Caesar.
As an ally or a villain?
As an ally.
I was gonna say, it's funny that you mentioned King Caesar. We did basically get him in the show because the suit actor for King Caesar was Zone Fighter.
Oh, that doesn't count.
Oh.
That doesn't count.
That doesn't count. I'm sorry, Samson, that doesn't count.
No, I know. But I when I looked it up, that's who played him. So you kind of feel that vibe, like comparing the two and the fighting style of how fast and ridiculous Zone Fighter is, and how King Caesar moves super fast is what I can see. I can kind of see it, the similarities between the two. But that's who it is. Same suit actor.
Yeah, and I would second your answer, Samson, with Megalon. Like he would fit perfectly into this ridiculous array of monsters because he would fit right in. You wouldn't even know he was like only Godzilla. Like he would fit perfectly right into a lineup of all these guys. You're like, oh yeah, he doesn't stand out at all. He looks just like the other ones, so ridiculous looking. I mean, realistically,
the horn and drills.
Yeah, the hands. I mean, everything. The mouth. You had the antennas. I mean, come on now. So yeah, I would definitely have to go with Megalon. I mean, it just fits. It would just be absolutely perfect. That would be my
anything that breathes fire. Just anything. It just has to breathe fire, and that's all it has to do.
Right?
Yeah.
How many flamethrowers did they use for the show? God,
Jesus!
Oh,
I lost track.
Probably a lot.
That's every time you see a flamethrower kaiju take a shot. That's man.
Yeah.
That would be rough.
All right. So moving on. What was your favorite episode and why? So I'm gonna go first, and we actually kind of touched on this earlier. I think Samson, you kind of took my part of my answer, but I'm gonna go episode 25, which was basically the Terror Beast like battle royale against Godzilla and Zone Fighter. Like my favorite part was straight up like OP Zone Fighter just straight up hand in the chest and just lets loose his rockets and it's just going through him. Like, I was like, holy shit. I was like, he's going off on him right now. That was amazing. I loved it. I love that Godzilla was just going ape crap on everybody. Like, it didn't matter. He was just turning and punching. Like, I just loved it. I love that like battle royal-esque kind of style. I was like, yes. I was like, this is what I'm here for. because he's just letting loose on them, and then the two of them. You know, what would have made it even better is like if they both stood like back to back, surrounded, and they just like both like let their
that
weapons
would've been
loose, or
beautiful.
like just straight up just duking it out with everybody. Because I mean, this suit is known for basically its brawling ability. Like that's what he does best, is just brawling, punching, all that kind of stuff. Like that's what he did, and I just loved it. I got so excited watching that episode. I was like, hell yeah, this is my episode. I love it. But yeah, Jordan, what was yours?
I would. There are few preferable episodes that I have, including that one of episode 25. But in terms of like which one is my exact favorite episode, I don't really have a favorite episode over because just overall, I just absolutely love the series. I will say for me, the most memorable one, if it fits in within the category, is I don't know if this was the same episode of episode 25 or like a couple episodes before that one. Where the first sequence of the entire episode, it was Zone Fighter and Godzilla actually sparring.
Yes,
that was
I like that a lot. It just for me, it gave Godzilla. It gave Godzilla a whole different type of character. Maybe for all we know, maybe he was preparing for episode 25, bro. Listen, if you're gonna duke it out, I'm at least I'm gonna teach you a couple thing or two. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So it was really out of just the overall character to Godzilla, but it also did give him like, I guess a positive on my behalf, a positive character development for that specific Godzilla. But again, I don't have a favorite episode. Every episode I absolutely love. But for me, the most memorable one, and the one that I do talk about the most in terms of like a moment in the show, was that when Zone Fighter and Godzilla were sparring.
I think that's episode 21 with Jellar being the villain,
Yes.
the big whatever, and then he like Godzilla rips a piece of him off and it turns into another one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, I have a DVD cover. I don't know if you guys could see it right here. Oh, let me see if I can put it right here. It's literally
yeah. Them
sparring.
That's great. That's a great image.
Yeah, that's a great moment. Like it was almost like Godzilla was mentoring Zone Fighter.
Yes.
You know, like he was just sparring him, you know, making sure that it wasn't rusty, or just, you know, made sure he was still strong, whatever. Like it was just and then even Godzilla liked it. Like, and then that moment when like he turns into like human form, like back down, and he's waving. Even Godzilla kind of puts his hand up and waves back, you know, kind of thing. It's just like
No.
that's great.
Because this series is so short, like there's not a ton of fluff in this, like, right? So it's 26 episodes. For, you know, unfortunately it's 26 episodes, but because it is only 26 episodes, there's not a lot of like lull periods. Like with Ultraman, you know, there's 50 episodes, sometimes 40 some episodes, and so maybe like 10 or so they're just like but this is consistently like a good show. So for me, it's episodes 5 and 6 with Shoot Down Ghidorah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 5 and 6. Green gas, something or another. What was it? I forget what it was called.
Well, it's shoot down Ghidorah and then Ghidorah's counterattack. Episode 6.
I meant the device that the Garugas were trying to capture, because that's always the plot. They're trying to steal some scientific thing.
Because we learn Ghidorah's origin. Like we just don't know. We from Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, all we know is he decimated Venus. We don't know exactly where Ghidorah came from. So it's good to get that little bit of lore. Now, regardless of how I feel about how the suit looked, because the Ghidorah suit didn't look great. That Ghidorah suit didn't look great in Gigan, and it didn't look much better here.
No, it did not.
I can agree with that. I don't want to.
But it was still a fun couple of episodes, and being Ghidorah being one of my favorite Toho kaiju, you know, it's like I'm going to go with 5 and 6 because all the other good answers were taken.
And that was the first two-parter. Anyway, they didn't have a two-parter before that.
Yeah, that was the first two-parter. Mm-hmm.
That was the first one. Ghidorah.
Yep. Samson, you can go.
You guys probably already know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But I guess I'll go
I
against
do.
my.
Talk about the ninja.
He's about ready to give the bitch answer.
All right, I'll go against my natural instincts of saying the Gigan. So episode 11. One kaiju that I liked a lot. It's when he goes out to space. Episode 17 when he fights. How do you pronounce it? Belgaris. And it starts out in that weird ball form. He's on the planet. He goes to fight him on the other planet, and it like transforms back and forth. I thought that was a really cool kaiju, and that episode was fun. But I mean, yeah, the Gigan one, it stands out to me because it has Godzilla, it has Gigan, and Zone Fighter, and Zone Fighter. I also love the fact that it's like Zone. Could you not have climbed out that car window at any point before you got crushed? I mean, you did right when the machine turned off, but could you not the entire time? Okay, sure. That's fine. No, fine. The vehicle's indestructible, but this window, I can't climb out of that until the thing stops trying to crush me. No.
I thought that right away when I saw that episode. I was like, dude, just climb out the window.
And that was actually, in terms of like the actual human stuff, it was a little tragic. Like that guy, it was kind of a dick move because it's like, okay, you're wanting to kill this other driver just because you don't get to drive the car. That's the whole plot. And he met his tragic end. It kind of stood out. I think that was like the most, like a whole tragic human ending that we've seen in any other episode yet. So episode 11 was when we finally got like, oh wow, this is some human. This is more than just like the Gorgas knocking people out and just like somebody died.
Yeah, it definitely showed like the human greed portion of it, where he wanted to be the driver. And he paid for it. Yeah,
it's like, okay, you're gonna kill somebody over being able to drive a stock car, sure, yeah,
right.
That's
yep. And honestly, what was worse was that Hikaru even said, I was going to give you the spot. Like, even that was like another just jab. It was like, oh my God, like you chose so poorly.
Oh, yeah. I was going to let you drive it. Hey, damn it.
Yeah. He's like, oh, wait, I have to fix this. Oh, bang, bang.
Yeah, no kidding. So it was more than just the fact that Gigan was in it. There was the human story was actually interesting as well.
Yeah,
that is true. That was true.
Godzilla Gigan part, that actually was great too. For Gigan and Godzilla to duke it out, Gigan get knocked out, and then Zone Fighter and Gigan to duke it out.
That's true. Adrian?
So I have two episodes that are my favorite. One that's got with Godzilla and one that's non-Godzilla. It wasn't episode 21. It was the episode before that with Godzilla in it when he was fighting that underground terror beast.
Yes, the drill guy
and everything.
The
episode 15.
The big guy with the big drill.
Yeah, I think it was episode 15. That was a good episode.
15,
that was a really good episode. I like that episode a lot. And the one when Zone Fighter legit couldn't win. It was the one when
Shadora?
He was like super hot in the whole episode and couldn't like stay in his giant form. I forgot what episode it was though.
I think I'm pretty sure
like 12 or 13.
Shador is the one that like his shadow was evil and he was sick.
Yeah, that one. Shadow. Yeah, that was a really good episode too.
Shadow. That's episode 10. Shadora.
Okay. Yeah, so 10 and 15, those are definitely two of my favorite episodes because they actually had to, because specifically episode 10 because they had to figure out a different way to stop the bad guy, and then Zone Fire just getting all his missiles and killing them. Like, nah, they ain't gonna fight that time. You gotta do some work.
That was also the first time that his meter ran completely out. We never saw that yet.
Yeah. Awesome. All right.
I kind of want to change my answer. I like that episode a lot too. that was good.
Like,
there was much.
Jordan probably had the best answer where it's just the whole thing is good. Honestly, I mean,
it is. It's an amazing show.
It is an amazing show.
A lot of they kind of blend together sometimes with the plot because it always seems like, all right, the villains just want to steal some scientist's really cool weapon or device, use it for their thing. Monster shows up, battle. Zone Fighter theme song, mighty missile thing. Episode's over.
I would say the one episode that was probably their smartest move was when the human scientists developed that that new like energy bomb or whatever.
Something
the PS31.
Yeah, and then they had the Terror Beast swallow it, so then
Zone
Fighter couldn't fight him at all because if he did anything to it, he could blow up.
That was the two-parter, 18 and 19. Dan Darguris, like Anguirus, but spelled differently.
Yeah, like that was a good one because even the Terror Beast would like kind of mock Zone Fighter into trying to get him to attack him and stuff like that, but he knew he wouldn't do it. You know, like it just showed like a little bit of a personality with the Terror Beast instead of just being a lumbering, stupid monster that they just say, "Hey, go attack." You know, it just made a more of an aspect to that character, I guess.
Spoilers without context. Rock, paper, scissors, fencing, and ring toss.
Yep, exactly.
I was like, oh my God.
That's how corny this show is, but we love it.
I laughed.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was like just some corny shit, but it was. I was like, I dig it though.
That was
I'll
amazing.
take the corniness.
All right, moving on. All right. So speaking of the Terror Beast, did you feel like the kaiju in this series had good designs and were they adequate to be real threats to the world?
Yes and no. Yes and no.
It depended on the Terror Beast, I guess. It really did depend.
Well, Jordan, you go first.
Yeah,
How about you? You go first.
Honestly, the designs. Oh, this is a tough one. Oh, man. They're extremely just like unrealistic, and especially for a Toho show. We're used to just looking at all the other properties of Godzilla monsters and how organic they look to their designs. So this was definitely out of place for Toho. This was oh my God. But I mean, to stick to the Henshin series, especially with that of Ultraman in the later years after the original Ultraman, a lot of them had this specific type of just obscure design type of look. But I like it. If I were to see this as a civilian looking up out my fucking window thinking that this was going to be a threat, I would have just stood home, continued to make my fucking bullet.
Just no threat whatsoever.
Yeah, like I'd like.
Oh, never mind.
You know what I'm saying? Now it's one thing if it's like definitely you see King Ghidorah, then that would be a whole nother scenario case. But yeah, in terms of everybody else, it was very, very, very out of place and just like I'm even looking at this fucking keychain that I have right here, and I'm like, how the fuck did we get this shit? I don't know.
Tyler, we pronounce the names are hard to remember too, man.
Yeah, that's another thing. And it was just like, oh my God, just like there were some episodes like beginning earlier years when I was like starting to like watch, every or not every episode, but like certain episodes periodically, like my face would just start from like, yeah, I'm getting into Zone Fighter. And then as the the monsters are revealed, I'm just like slowly just like turning my face like, what the fuck? But overall, they were amazing. Like they like choreography, I mean, they all pretty much had the same fucking ability and stuff, like certain differences. But overall, I like the designs. They were fun to look at. They were really funny. But in terms of an actual threat, they were mediocre. They were definitely a joke.
Michael,
as intoxicated as I was at G-Fest on Friday night, there is no way that I could have come up with something as ridiculous as some of these designs. I'm about to date myself. I'm about to date myself hard when I say this. A lot of them reminded me of like HR Puff and stuff monsters. If anyone remembers, like if anyone remembers HR Puffa stuff, like Sid and Marty Krofft, like growing up, all those shows that used to come on TV, like they're just fucking weird. All of these things are walking acid trips because there's like
So perfect. Yes.
It's like oh there's an eyeball here, there's a tentacle here, there's a beak here. Oh let's
have one
just
head.
put, like,
No.
not one head. Let's give him 3. Let's give him 3, guys.
At the top of its shoulders too, right? No, in the very middle of its chest.
Asymmetrical. Like we want everything to be asymmetrical and as weird and as unsettling as humanly possible.
Oh god.
Oh
I mean,
god.
But they all breathe fire.
And every last one of them breathes fire.
Every last fucking things breathes fire.
They all took a trip to Taco Bell and now they all breathe fire out both ends. I don't know, man. It's
Well, sir, this one doesn't have a mouth. It breathes fire.
It's good.
It's good.
Like,
You know,
hey, just
the one chip challenge, bro. They all tried the one chip challenge, bro.
wow, bro.
That's
bro.
true. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Do I think they are on par with even some of the weird, because there's been some really fucking weird Ultraman monsters. Like Ultraman Ace has some really ridiculous monsters. But like they were like Toho was just like, you know what? Like I feel like I can probably summarize what the creative department was doing when they were coming up with all these monsters. They were just sitting around the table, they were drinking sake, they were smoking their cigar, and you're like, you know what? Fuck it, let's just do that.
Yep.
Well, they only had a week. Like, we got a week to put out this suit. Somebody here, give me that pill. All right, let's come up with monsters now. We got a week.
Oh god, that's funny.
I guess I agree with y'all. It's these monsters were out of the one that I did think was kind of a threat when you think about it. If you put it into context, the Garugan spider. If it had been able to like keep like just infecting creatures around the world constantly, like it was doing, could have been a bigger threat. That was actually a very
gorilla.
Yeah, so the gorilla, but it eventually turned into the big, like I guess this row, all the way to the left.
Yep.
Is that what it turned into? Eventually, like it. Okay.
Yeah.
But other than that, and okay, so very bottom, second to the left. That's just Alf. That's Alf with some shit on his back.
Thank you.
Alf with shit on his back. That's all that is.
Thank you.
Oh my god.
I mean, there are some kaiju that look cool, like the episode Adrian liked a lot. So second from the right with the giant drill head. I actually I did like him. I thought he was actually cool. And again, all the way to the left, that one, not the ball form. The ball form was really ridiculous, but that guy was not too bad. Otherwise, these things were just, yeah, all right.
Adrian, what do you think?
It is what it is, guys. It is what it is.
It's still great. It was still phenomenal. I'll watch it again.
Besides Gigan, King Ghidorah, Spearhead, and the one that sent above that was in space. Not the ball form, because that was fucking ridiculous. Everything else, no. None. If I saw these out in the streets, none of these are a threat to me. But oh, this is what a kaiju is. Okay, I'm going back inside. I'm good.
you know that things are really effing weird when Gigan looks normal.
Oh my
The
god!
73 guy again, mind you.
When 73 Gigan looks normal.
72 Ghidorah, 73 guy again are fine. You guys you got a question. Okay. Yeah, that's a very valid point. Jesus Christ.
Oh my god.
I'm going through my album on my phone of all these creatures. Let me see. I don't know if I can find a single other one that I like. No, I can't. So it's like
nah. These are some weird ass monsters.
With like Gigan and Ghidorah, they definitely look out of place. Like looking at all these other monsters, I can't believe this shit.
They took that Hedorah acid. That's what they did when he was making these monsters.
Yes.
Yeah, so I didn't look these monsters up on purpose because I was like going episode to episode. I was like, all right, I'm gonna wait for the big reveal so that I can be like, and every time that like shooting from like the low angle shot like they do, and then the smoke, and then the monster shows up. I'm like, eh? Oh, okay. Every episode was
underwhelming for sure.
And then when guy gets oh fucking Christ, thank you. Oh, thank you.
Until Gaga came in that parachute.
Ghidorah in 5 and 6, and then eventually Gaga. But still, when I was Ghidorah, I was like, oh, thank you. Oh, feels so much better.
So, Adrian, you just brought up a good point. Gigan's parachutes.
Oh shit.
Yeah, what was
he fucking sense.
So there is actually backstory to that.
Oh Lord.
Okay, let me hear it.
Yeah, me too.
So so there's not like a lot of backstory, but basically, it just states that he lost the ability to fly and use his buzzsaw after the fight with Megalon, and against Jaguar and Godzilla.
He flew away at the end of that.
I don't know.
Okay,
but
sure.
That's
Toho
logic. And that's why he has that. And yeah, it is and that just adds on to the ridiculousness of these monsters, because
which makes sense why he uses buzzsaw now though, so that makes sense.
And then for no reason, he had explosive tipped spikes. Also, his claws.
Yeah, exactly. He got new abilities and stuff like that with the explosion on his mandibles, and then he had the ninja rejuvenation move, where he could just bring himself back to to life or whatever.
I was wondering if I read that correctly when that was on I was like the niche. I'm sorry. Let me go back. Hang on. Skip. Okay.
I literally was laughing when I wrote this question. I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to hear your guys' answers, because I am on with you guys. It is the most ridiculous monsters I've ever seen. Very close, actually. I was thinking of an Ultra series that reminded me of these and stuff like that, and I finally got it. And it's actually, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's Ultraman Taro. And Ultraman Taro was made in 73 also. And his kaiju are on par with these guys, where they're absolutely ridiculous. They look like they don't belong, and they look like they're just kind of thrown together with duct tape, and this is your monster. And they do that for 26 to 40 episodes.
I'm trying to remember.
It's ridiculous.
I'm trying to remember if it's Leo or Taro that's like very like storybook fantasy based. I want to say it's Taro, but it might actually be Leo, because Leo has really wild monsters in it.
Leo has wild ones in it, but he also has like some of the more recognizable ones that keep coming back and everything that you kind of keep seeing. Taro had just almost weird new ones all the time that they never like reused ever. And it was just crazy. But I finally was like, God, I know there's an Ultra series that resembles or is on par with these guys. And yeah, it's Ultraman Taro, because it was made in the same year and everything. So it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, these things are ridiculous. They don't look mean or menacing in any way, shape, or form.
If we ignore the design aspect of a lot of these guys, some of them actually had some pretty threatening abilities. Like episode, actually,
like a flamethrower.
Okay, ignoring weapons that every one of these things had. All right, the second enemy from the first episode, he had a giant magnet hand, and fighters, I'm assuming, is made of magnetism. Let's see. Right, this row, second from the left, Zone Fighter couldn't even get near him without being electrocuted in some way until he ripped that thing off the top of his head.
Until he ripped all the cords out of his body or whatever.
Right. And Shadora, the one, I mean, he basically took over the hero's body and messed him up for the longest time. And then some of them had like illusion capabilities so that they could distort Zone Fighter's. So some of them, the abilities were neat, but for the love of God,
The look of them just trumped their abilities because you couldn't get past the look. You're like, it's just not believable. Oh, that's funny though. All right. So, what are the strong and weak points of the series overall?
The suits.
You know, that was gonna be my answer. I was like, oh, the suits, but I
That's a
will.
lot of our answers.
I'll add that, but like I'll add a little bit something. I thought one of the weakest points was the visual effects. It was very lackluster for the visual effects overall.
Low budget,
You didn't really have a lot, honestly. You just had a lot of explosions and stuff like that. But other than that, you didn't have like Ultraman in '66. You always saw his Specium beam, always. You know, or the Ultra Kaiju had some kind of beam or anything. You saw that. Like you're talking 8 years later, 5 years later, whatever, that this came out. You would have thought that they would have thrown that in there to really spice up the series, I guess, and especially like Godzilla's atomic breath. The first 2 times that he used it was just smoke. That's all it was.
Yep.
It was just spraying smoke. That's all it was. It was nothing. It was just no special effects or nothing. Until like the last 3 episodes, they finally put in like special effects where it was actually blue and his dorsal spines lit up and everything. Then you saw it. But other than that, you didn't have. It was non-existent. They went for practical effects.
It's really disarming.
54 Godzilla.
Again, going back to everything had a flamethrower.
Yeah,
it was really
like
in fact, just flames. It's easy.
I'll piggyback. I'll go next and just piggyback off what you said, Eric. Like you could I might be speaking in ignorance here. I'm gonna be honest. I might be speaking in a little bit of ignorance, but I feel like you could really feel the budget for this show. Like this is like one of those properties you could feel that the budget was not quite there. That either Toho didn't quite believe in what they had and they were just kind of pumping something out just to compete with Ultraman, or something. Like it just something felt a little off. This is not like this to some degree. This is not Toho quality. This is like someone else made a show and licensed Godzilla to be part of it. Like that's like and the whole smoke thing, like Godzilla breathing smoke instead of like his actual like the optical effect of his atomic breath. Like that's really disarming. When I saw that for the first time, I'm like, what the hell was that? Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So but you could really feel the budget for this show. And aside from that and the suits, I think the number one thing that it's really it's unfortunate and it's unavoidable, but there's just a lot of stuff that doesn't get resolved due to the fact that the show was canceled. And so you really, as much as I don't want to factor that in, you kind of have to factor that in to the whole experience because there's just a lot of stuff that just doesn't get paid off. Like there's a lot, like the thing ends in a cliffhanger. And it just, and for that, it's still an enjoyable, don't get me wrong, it's still an enjoyable show. I love the hell out of it, but it's the fact that it just doesn't feel resolved bugs me. It does bug me about it.
Absolutely. Jordan?
Yeah, no, I'm right on board with you guys with the practical effects. Especially like, looking at around that time at, every other show or more so specifically, sticking to like the Toho tradition. All the Godzilla movies we had seen, even like of the same year being Godzilla versus Megalon, if I could have put just a regular episode without even showing, Godzilla or any of the other classic Toho monsters in this to anybody that is well aware of Godzilla and has watched Godzilla during the Showa period. And if I told them, at the end, hey, did you know that the same company that made Godzilla made this show? Nobody would ever believe me. Like literally the other day, or not even the other day, I'm lying. What the fuck? A couple minutes ago, my brother was here and I was just going over a couple episodes and he's like, what the hell is this shit? And I said, this is Zone Fighter. This is the company, or Toho is actually the company that made this show. He goes, no way. When did this come out? And I'm just giving him the little lore behind it, and he's just like, how the hell did they come from at least Godzilla versus Megalon? Hell, even Godzilla versus Hedorah and Gigan to this shit, And again, giving him a little bit of feedback, a little bit of backstory to it, and explaining it to him why it was still just just a little bit disappointing that the practical effects and just the overall the imagery wasn't what we would have wanted to see, especially when trying to compete, or not trying to compete, but we're trying to, capture the success of Ultraman. I could only imagine, during that time, if anybody were to be like, hey, there's a Henshin show coming out around, surrounding the Godzilla lore. You should check it out. I feel like Godzilla is really the only, positive thing to really draw, a fan at that time's attention to the show. Though we all love it, hence the reason behind this live stream. That is a huge, down point to the show. And obviously, it being very, very short and ending the way that it did, that to me was the weak points. But yeah.
Adrian.
So, kind of have the group, which y'all said, that the designs of all the monsters we got, the visual effects, because I mean, like y'all kind of mentioned already, no one's gonna believe that Toho made this when they watched all the other Showa Godzilla movies. Like, come on, like they're like, really, you're fucking with me. And even I was showing it to Serena, she's like, this is different. Granted, she's never seen the Showa era, so she doesn't know what she's in for. But even she was kind of like, this is the same company, like. But yeah, that's definitely something that suffered with the practical effects as well as the designs of the monsters. Granted, yeah, they didn't want to use a whole bunch of Godzilla characters or a whole bunch of Ultraman-esque fighters, but I mean, Jesus, guys, like, really, we could have done something a little bit different with the kaiju.
Yeah, a little bit better.
A lot of bit.
This is midget. And one thing that kind of threw me off too, it's a real small nitpick, but kind of wish it gave Zone Angel and Zone Junior a little bit more to do, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was too many episodes where Zone Fighter had to win the day versus Angel and Junior figuring something out to save the day too. If they just always put it all on Zone Fighter, and if anything, all they did was just give him his energy back.
Yeah,
I wish there was a little bit more variety on how they beat the monsters. Also, like Samson said, all he had to do was shoot his guns and the bad
guy just done.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, here I know I said suits, but I actually had more to add to it. Y'all mentioned the budget. One thing about for the first few episodes, Angel and Junior wore like the exact same outfit every single time, so that the continuity of them going Zola fight the go, like doing their transformation matched up with them transforming from that pose to them in their costume pose, because they had to have the same clothes on every single time. Later episodes, whenever they do the transformation thing, you see a single frame of them in their human clothes and then transforming into their actual like outfits, so that because they're not wearing the same costumes or the same regular clothing every single time, the street clothes. So in order to not have to reshoot that transformation scene with the cool background and everything, they just made sure that they did one single frame or something to be like, wait, those clothes don't match what they were wearing a second ago. So the budget showed, and the special effects were a little dull, and having to use a flamethrower every single time. But the positive notes were, it was just a fun show. The characters were good. It was enticing, and I mean, each story was different than the last in a way, and it was entertaining from start to finish. I couldn't put it down. I could not. I had so much fun, which is why I had to watch every single episode until the point right before we started our show today. I had all of them, otherwise I wouldn't be able to have the proper context to talk about it.
Yeah, I think that they obviously bit off more than they could chew. They prove that they're not known for like a weekly episode kind of thing where they can't put these things together fast and everything and make it look really good. They're one movie, all eggs in one basket. this is our product kind of thing. That's what they're good at, and that's what they need to stick to, which they did, but they gave it a shot, and you got to commend them for that and everything. They just thought that, hey, let's put out our own kind of thing, and maybe we'll get popularity and sell stuff and everything, and we'll get the views. But obviously it didn't work. But at the same time, it, like you said, it was still fun to really watch. I say it all the time, but like it's Showa, but like this Showa movie series, all that stuff, it just has a certain charm to it that not everybody gets. But if you've seen enough of it, you just know this is Showa. This is peak Showa. This is exactly what I'm here to watch. And this is right down my alley, because this is why I'm watching this stuff, for the Godzilla stuff, for the Ultraman stuff, for Zone Fighter stuff. It's all basically the same. And that's why we watch it, because it's so good. So I still love it. The characters were all great. The fighting was great. The Zone Fighter his look overall, I really did dig. I loved his face and everything. I loved his missiles on his arms. It was really cool. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bads to it and everything, but it's just really fun to watch. It really is.
One more weak point that's sort of a weak point is him just having random made up abilities to defeat his enemies every once in a while. Just all right.
Really,
when it's he's losing really bad, let's just throw a new. He just now has this random new ability we haven't seen in 15 episodes.
We've increased his timer from 110 seconds to 125 seconds.
And he had just shield, throw it.
I was just saying the shield.
Bubble.
Yeah.
Whirlwind, which actually didn't do anything. It just flew around a lot and then came down and kicked you in the face. But it's
meteor kick and everything, or windmill kick.
Oh my god, the meteor punch. I don't remember which Terror Beast it was, but when he just like hit that whichever beast it was in the face, like rapid fire fisting him in the face, it was like, holy crap, that was hysterical.
It's so good though. So good.
So that was one that was like, oh, really? Okay, yeah, sure. Just let him do anything. Maybe he can explode and just come back to life, and that's how he beats an enemy at some point. Yeah, sure, fine.
Yeah, exactly.
So just one little thing.
Moving on. All right. So, since the series was cut short, were you satisfied with the ending? What would you have liked to see if they continued with the show? Adrian, you go first.
We talked about this earlier off air. Honestly, the last episode was just kind of to me. It didn't really wrap anything up. It was just sudden, like a lot of black TV shows just kind of end. Joe don't have that. What I'm talking about with that. Like we kind of talked about. I was episode 25 was the last episode, because that kind of put everything in perspective and put everything back together to me for a proper ending. Maybe I was being biased because Godzilla was in it, but I mean, there's that big boss fight at the end. I mean, they had to fight 5 Terror Beasts. Like, they could have ended it right then. We would have been happy. It would have been good, especially having Godzilla and Zone Fighter have to fight together to beat them all. I feel like that should have been the ending. But if they were gonna continue, I don't know, honestly. Zone Fighter is so wacky. I can't really think what they would think of next for the next episode to be. Or how they could have continued the series on, honestly. I mean, besides some more crackhead monsters, that's all I can think of. So I don't know what exactly would have continued. If they would have continued, I would have liked them to continue. I just don't know what they would have went with it if they did continue it.
Okay, Samson.
I kind of touched on it a little bit at the beginning about the whole like getting more of a backstory of the mom, dad, and grandpa, like finding out what is their role in this other than just being mom, dad, and grandpa. Why are they? I mean, obviously they're aliens. They're from another planet, and we don't know much about them other than just it was Peace Land and it was destroyed. And why do they have this zone capability? What the technology behind it? I think just a random fantasy idea. It would be neat to give the other 2 zone children the ability to turn into, like, if they had a season 2, somehow give the Angel and Junior the capability of turning into their own versions of a zone fighter. And or give them ability like just in general, like like the main dude can't turn into like only one at a time, just something like that. I don't know. There was options, but yeah, it was cut short and it stunk. And I'm gonna feed off you on the Terror Beast free for all. That was such a better one than the last one we got. The last one was actually forgettable for me. I watched it right before we came on the show, but other than the plot, like the kid was blind, I don't really remember. He fought a monster, he won, and the end. It wasn't like stand out as a good finale. So that free for all with the other Godzilla, the Terror Beast, because we all kind of want to see Godzilla help him out at the end anyway. That really would have wrapped it up pretty nicely if they'd have done it like that. But we got what we got, and it was still fun, and I'm sure, like we've been saying the whole night, we enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Michael?
I'm not satisfied where it ended. I'm with Adrian. I think episode 25 would have been a proper ending. They defeat all the monsters with Godzilla's help, and then everyone goes home happy. But I would have loved to have known, and we talked about this earlier, I think, and Samson alluded to it. I would have loved to have seen more of a backstory with the family and where they came from and why they had to leave their planet. More stuff, like more stuff, more lore building. But if they didn't, honestly, I was thinking about this, and if they didn't address it by episode 20, they probably weren't going to address it at all. Because typically for a Henshin show, when we get towards that halfway point or that quarter way point, we're starting to see little things of backstory and little things of lore start to leak in. Mm-hmm. They do that a lot with Sentai. So it's like around episode 15, you start seeing some of like the backstory with some of the characters and why and their motivations and why they are the way they are. I don't know if Toho really had a plan for this show. I'm assuming they did, but at some points in the show, it doesn't feel like they really had a plan. They were just kind of flying by the seat of their pants as they're just kind of making it up as they go, is what it kind of felt like, in my opinion. But I'm not satisfied with the ending because it just feels like it just ended like with no satisfaction. Right. There's no payoff. Yep. The bad guys are still around. They're still being bad. They're still trying to conquer the world. And the zone fighters are still zone fighting. And like, that's just all we have. That's now we got
to introduce that new version of the X, whatever version, the X Force of the, like, that didn't go anywhere.
I will say though, if you want sort of a continuation to this, go check out Daikaiju Legends.
Yes.
His channel. Go check out his channel because he's been doing, like, he did a season 2 of Zone Fighter using toy photography and stop motion and things like that. But like it's a really good channel. Like I've watched a little bit of his stuff. It's great. So if you want more Zone Fighter and more of that kind of continuation of the story, go look at Daikaiju Legends. But it's just a shame that we didn't get something official from Toho.
Jordan?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to agree with everybody else. You know, for me, it didn't feel like an ending at all. It felt like, you know, there was going to be a next episode. Obviously, it wasn't. I did feel like, you know, at least for me, it felt a little bit, you know, I don't want to say rushed, but of that feeling of, you know, just being a non-satisfying episode whatsoever. Everybody, obviously, you know, we all agree, you know, the 25th episode should have definitely been the last one. For me, if we did get a proper ending, I don't think I would want Godzilla to be in the final episode, you know, because we got to remember, you know, the name of the show is Zone Fighter. It's not the Avengers of Zone Fighter and Godzilla, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it would definitely taken away the overall originality that is Zone Fighter. So again, you know, if we had the proper lore and world building to that of Zone Fighter, with even if they would do like maybe another extra 10 more episodes or even 20 if I want to, you know, stretch it out farther out, you know, I feel like it would have been the proper send off. But another thing that, I mean, Eric, I don't know if you would, point this out or anything like that, but of my knowledge, the director considers this one of the biggest mistakes that he's ever made. Like, he doesn't ever want to bring, people's whenever if anybody would ever ask them, how was it like filming Zone Fighter or directing Zone Fighter? To
How
him,
about Fukuda?
his biggest his biggest regret. So maybe if this was, something, if it did do good, maybe he would have had a different, change of heart for it and make it into, maybe if it did, followed all these years and continued up until, this point of time of Tokusatsu, maybe he would have had a different opinion. Obviously, it probably would have passed on to multiple of other directors working on every other seasons, maybe possibly, fitting with the whole lore of Ultraman. We could have possibly seen, more different types of, Zone Fighters within the franchise. Maybe, oh, listen, we thought we were the only ones still alive. No, there's a bunch of other people in different parts of the world,
Ooh.
So that's how I personally would have ended it if it was something that were to be continuing. That's something a little, direction I would have went, because again, it would have, given us more lore, definitely a lot of world building and a bunch of character development, because I mean, we can all sit here and say and pinpoint which Ultraman is our favorite Ultraman. We're all going to have a different answer. Every Ultraman design that we've had, they've been extremely unique. Every ability has been amazing and unique, hence the reason why we prefer those Ultramen. So I mean, with the countless amount of abilities that Zone Fighter has, and within every episode he learns something completely new, I could only imagine if this did do good, what other absurd abilities other past or other future Zone Fighter incarnations could have had. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think they were ready for it to stop.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was in their plans. I don't think they had thought about it, because it was such an abrupt ending that honestly, it almost felt like they filmed most of the episode and then found out about it and then had to throw in the ending just to semi tie it up, kind of thing, which obviously they left it out a lot out. Honestly, with the last episode 26, honestly, they could have left it as a cliffhanger when Zone Fighter falls into the water with the Terror Beast and explodes. And for a second, you don't see anything until he pops out later. And then you're like, okay, he's alive. You could have left it at that as a cliffhanger. You don't know if he survived or if he died, and stuff like that. Like they could have done that, but it definitely showed that I don't think they knew that them stopping the series was a thing. I guarantee you that they expected to go on longer, but just with the economy and everything going on with them, they just abruptly just stopped it. And it definitely showed. And with you guys, I would definitely agree. More lore, more backstory for the Zone family and the Garugan. Just I want to see more of them and stuff like that. And then just later on with the series, who maybe they would have brought in from the Godzilla franchise also.
Yes.
Who else could they have brought in? That was a bad guy that the Garogans, took control over or something like that. Who knows? It could have been
Titanosaurus.
It could have been Mechagodzilla. They could have gotten the remains of Mechagodzilla, rebuilt them. They could have, taken control of Titanosaurus. Who knows? They could have taken one that was, back in the 60s or whatever. The possibilities are kind of endless with all those kaiju and stuff like that. So it would have been interesting to see. But we got what we got. I still love it for what it is. Yeah, it's very lackluster for the beginning or the ending. The 25th episode is the best one, I think, where it could have just ended with the big battle royal, like all of you have said and stuff like that. But also 26, they could have left it on the cliffhanger with him kind of going in the water and exploding and then never coming back out, and then you never knowing if he actually did die or not. So,
like I told you when I first saw that's what I thought. I was like sitting on the edge of my seat for a second, like, oh, is this where I know that the series got canceled? Is this where it goes? Please tell me it's not a cliffhanger. I mean, yeah, for shock factor, like, would have made fans be like, "What? No!" If that's where they left it. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, the last episode, it's forgettable.
All right, we got one more slide, and I threw in just some trivia, some info that maybe you guys didn't know about the series and stuff like that. Jordan, you actually kind of alluded to one of them just recently, so but we'll throw it up and everything. So firstly, the show was directed by Ishiro Honda and Jun Fukuda for a total of 14 episodes. King Ghidorah is the only monster in the show that doesn't die in the series.
Yep.
The show was canceled midway through because of the downturn in the Japanese economy caused by the energy crisis during the 1970s, as well as poor ratings. During development, Toho also was considering the possibility of a standalone Godzilla Tokusatsu TV show before ultimately deciding to have him, Gigan, and Ghidorah appear in Zone Fighter instead. So we could have almost gotten a Godzilla series.
Mm-hmm.
So something to think
with that
about.
73 suit.
Right. And then Samson, you alluded to this. In addition, Zone Angel was going to have a giant form of her own and a sidekick in the form of a giant stuffed panda called Pandaren.
Okay, now I didn't know. I was throwing ideas out there at that point. I was like, why didn't they? I had no idea. But I'm sorry, what?
Pandaren.
Does she have like a stuffed panda in the corner of her bedroom? It's like, come here.
So
Panda,
yeah,
go.
so they were going to have it where
Okay.
she was a big fan of pandas and she had like a favorite stuffed animal, and that was supposed to turn into like her sidekick when she got her powers too. So
It's not the weirdest thing I've
yeah,
not the weirdest. It's not the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like one of the weirdest things I've ever seen is a talking cat bus. But that's
my god.
That's a completely different show.
Yeah, no.
And then also Zone Fighter actually was being considered to appear in the Godzilla the game that released in 2014.
The PlayStation 4.
That would have been awesome.
3, 4, whichever.
That would have been
Three first, then 4.
Yep.
So, and then lastly, obviously we can talk about this. The show has never been sold outside of Japan.
Yeah, there's no dubs.
We're not talking about that.
No,
we're not talking about that.
What?
It's never been officially sold outside of Japan.
Never, yeah.
Hey, look, a flying distraction. What's that?
Yeah, so that's it, guys. That's all I have. That is our discussion on Zone Fighter. Thank you, everybody, for watching. That's still here. I think Oscar might be the only one still here.
You know, at the beginning, I asked you about before we went live. You didn't talk about your little toy there to anybody while we were actually live.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't talk about him.
I'm definitely on the lookout for more Zone Fighter figures, but man, they are hard and scarce.
There is an SH Monster Art style one. It's not SH. It's something else. It's a highly visible figure.
Japan Hero is actually this fellow right
Oh,
here.
you got one. Oh man.
So I'm actually looking for like more stylized figures. The one like that Eric has. I did look earlier. They're extremely hard to come by. It's
because
like
it's such a baried
yeah,
series.
It is.
Even when I go on, even when I go on Bai, like I search in like the English translation, and then I go to like the Japanese translator, copy and paste Zone Fighter in Japanese and put it on the history bar as well, or the search bar, and nothing. Absolutely nothing. So we're definitely going to have to dig deep to actually, acquire like very rare and hard to come by Zone Fighter figures. But you can only imagine how much they'd go up for as well.
Oh, for sure.
Me and Adrian talked about this a little bit, but we know it's not going to happen, which is unfortunate since this is his 50th. X Plus has put out wild stuff every once in a while, just random things. Oh man, it would have been so cool if we could have got.
They put out a Mirror Man.
Mirror Man. They put out Spectre Man.
They put out
Spectre Man, Red Man.
Red Man. Yeah.
They've never put out Zone Fighter, which I find really interesting.
any form, anything.
Or even if it was like a Bandai movie monster series to go to, look good with, the 73 Bandai movie monster series Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the gentleman that does YMSF has done one. He has a 6-inch Zone Fighter. It's old. He did it a while back, and he hasn't done it in a while since. Maybe somebody can reach out to him. Instagram is what he's actively on all the time.
Yes.
Somebody push him hey, it's his 50th. What do you think? Maybe re-put out another figure of him, huh? Because he did do one a while.
He would have done it already. It's already September. If he's gonna do it, he would have done it already.
Yeah, he would have shown prototypes.
He's in his ear. Let's give him a little ring and see what he thinks.
He should have the mold. Unless he probably wants to retool it. Unless he wants to retool it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's an idea.
Also, they bring a good point, Mark. When we get a 30-centimeter Zone Fighter, I'm putting the bug in Mark Sing Yang's ear. Mark, need a Zone Fighter, please. Thank you.
Yeah, and Marcellus too.
Oh.
Hey,
I know what you're thinking. Them big 50 centimeter boys.
Big boys. There we go.
Could you imagine?
A 50 centimeter Zone Fighter in his fighting pose.
That's what I want. I would want him on his knee and doing the missiles. That's the pose that I would want. Yep.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's it. Anything else, guys? Anything else to add?
That was awesome. The series was fun. The show was fun. Everything's been fun. It's all around just fun.
This was fun. This was fun for such a property that doesn't get talked about a ton. Like this was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, and hopefully anybody
Definitely
that watches
need to have more
live,
discussions.
Yeah, it'll bring up more discussions. Hopefully, it's got people's curiosity kind of running and stuff like that to go and watch this or find somewhere where they can watch it, kind of thing. Because I mean, besides from the collectibles, even finding the episodes are a little hard too. So
a little tricky.
Yeah. So. But and hopefully maybe we drop some knowledge on you guys that you didn't know about that would help in your decisions and stuff. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you all for joining me on this and everything. And I'm just glad that we got to do this because, yeah, it's something that I love talking about. I just love watching the series and then people wanting to talk about it too. And then Samson, you watching everything for the first time and really liking it like that makes me happy too.
Start to finish, this from Monday to today, I watched the entire series. I binged it, and yes, it gave me such joy to see something so with some familiar characters and just a lot of fun, and for it to be a fresh something that I haven't. It was great. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a fresh show or whatever for you that you've never seen before. That I know you're a big Showa fan, so like.
Yes.
Right there, it's just like bam! I've never seen it new, and I get to see it right now.
Yeah,
so that's hard to do.
Years, I may not see anything. I guess the spoilers were all there because I mean, if I haven't seen it in 50 years, I guess it's my own fault.
Yeah,
there wasn't much that was spoiled. Other than the fact the gigantic Ghidorah was in it. Other than that, it's like I didn't really know anything about this series.
It's because nobody talks about it.
Exactly.
Nobody talks about it.
So very deep down and just like Toho just wants to push it away, just like y'all said with the directors. Like, yeah, no, I didn't do that. What?
Thank you, Oscar. As always, a loyal fan.
Thank you,
and viewer. So, but yeah, I guess we'll close this show out and let's do Samson. You can go first with any shameless plugs.
Okay. Well, as far as shameless plugs go, my YouTube channel is just simple. It's my actual name, Samson West. And as far as me on Twitch, I stream video games constantly under the pseudonym Samzilla Streams. And I guess that's the only two things that I got for you.
Okay. Jordan, what you got, man?
Yes, you guys. Thank you all for watching. Obviously, Giordano Adorno. I am also known as the Realist Goji fan. I am mostly active on YouTube, but I also have a TikTok and an Instagram account under the Realist Goji fan name. So you guys are more than happy to go ahead and check it out.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada boom, Realist Goji fan with boom. How you doing?
Just had to activate them.
Oh God,
Michael?
you spoke the secret agent trigger.
I'm Michael, aka Zone Daddy.
Wow, I was about to say.
Oh God.
So Kaiju Ramen, Kaiju Weekly, all the things. I'm all over the place, but we're wrapping. We just released our Car Ranger episode for the Power Trip. Go check that out if Super Sentai is your thing. We've got Mega Ranger coming out soon, and then we're going to be wrapping up the podcast with our coverage or with our discussion on Cosmic Fury when it comes out in a week. So sometime around the 1st of October is when things are going to start wrapping up. The plan was to wrap up the show before the holiday season starts. So we're getting down there, and then we'll do a couple little shows here and there just for like Legend of the White Dragon and whatnot. Just some things that just some little things coming down the pipeline that we want to do. But outside of that, the Power Trip will wrap up officially with Cosmic Fury, which is the 30th season of Rangers. So,
R.I.P. JDF.
R.I.P. But who got their Master Morpher? I got my Master Morpher.
Oh.
Who got their Master?
Wow.
Before you had to take the Legacy Morpher and modify it to get the Master Morpher, to make a Master Morpher. Now they have an official one, which is apparently rumor has it this was the last project that JDF worked with Hasbro on before he.
Wow. Rest in peace, brother.
All right, Adrian.
Well, of course, I know I got my YouTube channel, Godzilla Train 1090. I'm putting on a video next week. It's gonna be I guess I can say what it is. The 1965/1968 Barugon. That would be coming out next week. Then I got one more to do this next month, and then I'm going on a bit of a hiatus. But I'll still be doing Monster of Attitude and everything, obviously. But of course, also check out my Instagram, Godzilla Train 1090 for toy photography, which I was supposed to post on today, but I'll post it tomorrow. And I guess that's all I got. Eric?
Yeah. Follow me on YouTube, Bearded Kaiju's Unboxing Reviews, where I review all my figures and acquisitions that I get. I actually just finished up my newest one, which will be dropping tomorrow. It'll be teaser. It'll be the X Plus 30 centimeter Galala that is very hard to find, actually, and it is a doozy, actually. Yeah.
It's been a few months since it has been. I remember when you bought that like 6 months ago, and you're like, Eric, when are you gonna do a review on that Galala? It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. I even said it in the video. It's like it got pushed back a little ways.
I'm still waiting on that review of your Prime 1 2021 Godzilla.
It's been pushed back too.
Okay. Just don't push it back too far, because we know how much you're gonna love that review.
Love that.
So.
Can't wait. But yeah, follow me there. Actually, I'm only about 9 subscribers away from 500, which I'll be doing my next giveaway.
Ooh.
So keep doing there, keep sharing everything, and make sure you're a member of the channel, and you're automatically entered into the giveaway. So yeah, and that's going to be awesome. Other than that, follow us here on Monster with Attitude on YouTube. Also follow us on Facebook, Monster with Attitude Collectors Group. We're doing daily themes there every day and stuff like that, which is really fun. Kind of get to showcase different things from everybody's collections, stuff like that. So make sure you check that out. Participate. It's great. And yeah, I think that's it. And of course, talk about Zone Fighter.
That's right.
Talk about Zone Fighter. Spread the word. Spread the love. Zone Fighter. Zone Fighter. So other than that, yeah, I think that's it. Like I said, thank you for watching, everybody. Jordan, thank you for being on here with us. It was a pleasure,
Yes,
buddy.
thank you, Jordan.
Of course.
Yeah, but yeah.
And I guess one more thing, Eric.
Yeah.
Our next show, we're still trying to decide what that's going to be. We had two things in mind. Mr. Hamilton is up to Mr. Hamilton, actually. Which one we do?
Okay. I get to be the decision maker. Ooh, I like that.
Yes, because we have the Sofubi Mania show or Atragon.
Sofubi Mania, brother. There's
a story behind the Atragon.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Considering I don't know, guys. I'm thinking about Sofubi Mania simply because I just don't feel qualified to do an Atragon show. I just don't feel qualified.
If you know, you know. If you know, you know.
I just don't feel qualified. I know he's not gonna watch, but I just don't feel qualified to do it. Oh no, I'll have to noodle on that one.
Okay.
If we did do Atragon, I would likely be in charge of that one. Just because I want to make sure that I'm getting properly acquainted with Atragon, becoming qualified to talk about Atragon. If you know, you know, guys. If you know, you know.
You know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Oh, God. Yeah, let's wrap this up and everything. But yeah, everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you. If you watch it later on, thank you. Spread the word, like I said. But lastly, and of course, embrace the attitude.
Embrace the attitude.
That attitude.
Embrace the fucking attitude.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.